Have you ever experienced an event or met a person that had such an impact on your life that it changed the way you see the world? Chances are you probably have. And in this video, we want to share the story of a man whose words have inspired millions around the world to fight for freedom, equality, and justice. His message is more relevant today than ever before. So without further ado, let's dive into the story of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the birth of a leader. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15, 1929, in Atlanta, Georgia. He was named after his father, Reverend Martin Luther King Sr. His parents were proud members of the middle class of Atlanta's African-American community. In fact, his father was one of the most respected Baptist ministers in the city. From an early age, Martin showed signs of greatness. He was described as a bright, inquisitive, and compassionate child who always stood up for what he believed in. Growing up in the segregated American South, young Martin witnessed firsthand the harsh realities of racial discrimination. But despite the challenges that surrounded him, he never lost hope. Instead, he drew strength from his family, his faith, and the belief that one day things would change for the better. The path to activism. After graduating high school, Martin went on to study at Morehouse College, where he earned a bachelor's degree in sociology. During his time there, he became heavily involved in the civil rights movement, which aimed to end racial segregation and discrimination in the United States. It was during his college years that he also met the love of his life, Coretta Scott, a talented musician and civil rights activist in her own right. Together, they would go on to have 4 children and become one of the most iconic couples of the 20th century. After Morehouse, Martin went on to Crosser Theological Seminary, where he earned a Master of Divinity degree. He then completed his Ph.D. at Boston University, making him one of the youngest recipients of a doctorate in the history of the university. Throughout his studies, Martin continued to hone his skills as a public speaker, and he began to emerge as a powerful voice for civil rights. The Montgomery bus boycott. In 1955, Martin's life changed forever when he helped organize the Montgomery bus boycott. This historic protest lasted for over a year and resulted in the desegregation of buses in Montgomery, Alabama. The boycott was sparked by the arrest of Rosa Parks, an African-American woman who refused to give up her seat to a white man on a segregated bus. When news of the boycott spread, people from all over the country took notice of Martin's leadership skills. He had become a prominent figure in the fight for civil rights, and his influence would only grow in the years to come. In the following years, Martin co-founded the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, or SCLC, which aimed to coordinate nonviolent protests against racial segregation in the South. Under his leadership, the organization played a pivotal role in some of the most important civil rights victories of the era. Facing adversity, despite the progress that was being made, there were still many who opposed the civil rights movement and would do anything to stop it. As tensions rose, Martin and his family began to face threats and harassment. But through it all, Martin remained steadfast in his commitment to peace and justice. He knew that violence was not the answer, and he worked tirelessly to promote nonviolent resistance as a means of bringing about change. The March on Washington. One of the most significant events in the civil rights movement was the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom in 1963. This massive demonstration brought together hundreds of thousands of people from all over the country to the nation's capital to demand equal rights and opportunities for African Americans. It was during this march that Martin delivered one of the most famous speeches of the 20th century, the I Have a Dream speech. In it, he spoke of his dream for a nation where his children would be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. His words echoed across the country and around the world, inspiring millions to join the fight for civil rights. But the road to equality was not an easy one. There were setbacks and disappointments along the way, and Martin and his family were often in danger. In 1965, for example, Martin was arrested during a voting rights protest in Selma, Alabama, and in 1968 he was stabbed by a deranged woman while signing copies of his book, Where Do We Go From Here? But through it all, Martin remained committed to his cause. He knew that the struggle for civil rights was a long and arduous one, but he was determined to see it through to the end. The Nobel Peace Prize. In 1964, Martin's work was recognized on an international stage when he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. This was a testament to the impact that he was having on the world and the hope that his efforts were bringing to millions of people around the globe. But it was not just accolades that Martin was after. He was driven by a deep sense of purpose and a commitment to justice that knew no bounds. Continuing the fight, in the years that followed, Martin continued to fight for equality and justice for all. He expanded his focus to include economic justice and an end to the war in Vietnam. He believed that all forms of oppression were interconnected and that true freedom could only be achieved through a multifaceted approach. He also became increasingly vocal in his criticism of the Vietnam War, which he saw as a conflict that was draining the resources and attention of the United States away from the pressing issues at home. He believed that the money and energy spent on the war would be better allocated towards addressing the needs of the poor and marginalized in the United States. His opposition to the war was seen as controversial at the time, but he remained steadfast in his beliefs and continued to speak out against it until his death. The assassination and legacy. Tragically, Martin's life was cut short on April 4, 1968, when he was assassinated while standing on the balcony of a motel room in Memphis, Tennessee. He was only 39 years old. The news of his death sent shockwaves around the world, and people from all walks of life came together to mourn the loss of a great leader and a champion of justice. But despite the grief and anger that accompanied his death, Martin's legacy lived on. It inspired a generation of activists, and his message of peace and equality continues to resonate today. Martin's life and work serve as a reminder that one person can make a difference. He was a man who dared to dream of a better world and worked tirelessly to make that dream a reality. His story is a testament to the power of hope, courage, and determination in the face of adversity. Martin's words continue to inspire people around the world to fight for justice, equality, and peace. He was a true leader who showed us that through nonviolent resistance, we can bring about positive change in the world. As we look back on his life and legacy, let us be inspired by his example and strive to create a better world for ourselves and future generations. Martin's life and work serve as a reminder that one person can make a difference. He was a man who dared to dream of a better world and worked tirelessly to make that dream a reality. His story is a testament to the power of hope, courage, and determination in the face of adversity. Martin's words continue to inspire people around the world to fight for justice, equality, and peace. He was a true leader who showed us that through nonviolent resistance, we can bring about positive change in the world. As we look back on his life and legacy, let us be inspired by his example and strive to create a better world for ourselves and future generations. Let us remember that in the words of Martin, in the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Thank you for watching this video. We hope that you have been inspired by the story of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. If you would like to learn more about his life and legacy, please visit our website. You can also follow us on social media to stay up to date on all of our latest videos. We would love to hear your thoughts on Dr. King's life and work. Please feel free to share your comments below. Thank you again for watching, and we hope to see you soon.